Good evening and welcome to Kini News. Since last night, a 4-minute audio clip has been making its rounds on the internet where a person who sounds like PKR President Anwar Ibrahim can be heard praising another person who sounds like Umno President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi over the latter's handling of the Umno General Assembly. Today, Zahid denied the allegations that he spoke to Anwar and said that the audio clip is fake.
The alleged leaked conversation between Umno President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi and PKR President Anwar Ibrahim is fake, according to Zahid. In a statement released this afternoon, Zahid expressed shock and disappointment over the allegation that he spoke to Anwar after the Umno General Assembly and that the conversation was recorded. Zahid said he appears to be a victim of a political scheme to weaken or destroy Umno. Zahid added that he instructed his officer to lodge a police report over the allegation so that the person behind the alleged plot can be identified. In the statement, Zahid also gave his assurance that he will abide by the party's decision not to work with Anwar or DAP. He said as the party president, he has never violated any decisions made by the Supreme Council or the Annual General Assembly. The audio recording, which is circulating on social media, allegedly shows Zahid conspiring with Anwar to undermine the Perikatan Nasional Government. The authenticity of the recording is unverified, but its circulation among UMNO circles suggests the gloves are off in UMNO's internal tussle.
Padang Rengas MP Nazri Abdul Aziz is the latest party leader to openly call for UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi's ouster.
Calls to oust UMNO President Ahmad Zahid Hamidi appear to be growing, with party veteran Nazri Abdul Aziz being the latest to openly criticize Zahid's leadership. The Padang Rengas MP warned that Barisan Nasional will have a slim chance of winning in the 15th general election if Zahid stays on as the UMNO president and BN chairperson. He also claimed that Zahid no longer commanded respect among BN component parties. As an example of this, he cited how at the MIC Annual General Assembly last weekend, Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin was invited to speak to the delegates instead. Quoted by Free Malaysia Today, Nazri said if the UMNO president and BN chairperson was strong, the component party won't think of inviting an outsider. UMNO is currently at loggerheads with Bersatu led by Muhyiddin. Zahid is steering UMNO on a collision course with Bersatu and plans for Barisan Nasional to go head-to-head against Perikatan Nasional in the 15th general elections. Yesterday, Simpang Renggam UMNO chief Zakaria Abdullah was also reported to have openly called for Zahid to step down. Another leader to speak up was Johor Executive Council member On Hafiz Ghazi, who took to social media to urge Zahid to step down. Zahid is facing 47 charges in court involving criminal breaches of trust, corruption and money laundering. There have also been calls for UMNO Deputy President Muhammad Hassan to take over from Zahid.
Deputy Federal Territories Minister Edmund Santara today sidestepped questions on his controversial recent trip and stay in New Zealand.
Sri, tanya sikit pasal New Zealand, Sri. Banyak orang persoalkan.
Perkara itu dah selesai, ini tak berkaitan dan saya tak puas pernyataan. Kalau nak kita boleh makan dan minum hari lain. Terima kasih.
Okay.
This was the reply from Federal Territories Deputy Minister Edmund Santara when asked about his controversial recent trip and stay in New Zealand. Santara had come under the spotlight in February when news broke out about him taking a long leave from his duties as a deputy minister to visit and stay in New Zealand. He returned to Malaysia sometime in mid-March after over 80 days in New Zealand. Previously, in a statement, Santara had clarified that Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin had approved his request for leave on the 18th of December. His reasons for the leave included being with his wife who had not been well and carrying out his responsibilities as a father. Santara was met at a protest by a group of settlers at Ladang Tena Maram in Tanjung Karang, Selangor today. The Segamat MP was at the protest with about 100 settlers to speak out against the Selangor state government. According to him, some of the settlers had earlier taken the issue to his office and sought his assistance. The protesters claimed that the PKR-led state administration had treated some 300 settlers unfairly by leasing out an 800-acre land to 2 private companies without prior discussion with the settlers who have been there since 1995.
Hand sanitizers, they've become a daily necessity in this COVID-19 pandemic. Some businesses are even legally required to provide them to customers. However, Selangor MCA has warned that several shops in the state are providing poor quality hand sanitizers which may not produce the desired effects.
A team from Selangor MCA has discovered non-effective hand sanitizers being provided at coffee shops, restaurants and certain shops and malls after collecting 72 samples in the state. This is following public complaints that they felt suspicious with the quality of hand sanitizers provided by certain outlets, especially in undescriptive plastic bottles. MCA Government Affairs Monitoring Committee Chief Coordinator Wong Kok Fai said from all the 72 samples collected, 13 were in refilled bottles without a label on the source of the liquid used. Some bottles were found to contain only water, while others were found to contain small amounts of soap.
All these samples are surveyed mainly from first the coffee shop, restaurant, okay, and also from the shopping mall, yeah, and some of the general shops, those that are accessible, yeah. I like to emphasize that this is not a random sampling; it's a convenient sampling, yeah. So we cannot generalize it to the whole Selangor, yeah, but it's a little bit effort that we put in order to understand the situation. We do understand for some of the hawker center, they would like to keep their cost be very low. We can understand that everybody is very difficult at this moment, yeah. So they mentioned to us that they try to keep the cost low. This is why they use soap and water, and to their understanding, soap and water is actually effective.
Meanwhile, Selangor MCA Liaison Committee Secretary Leong Kok Wee said the government should take enforcement action by checking and controlling the price of hand sanitizers to reduce the burden of shop owners, which may be a factor on why they choose to cut costs.
So this is why Dato suggests, we enforce, but at the same time we control the price of sanitizer to make sure it's affordable. So there is a balance between enforcement and also affordable, and also to reduce the burden to the people. Yeah, this is why today Dato suggested 2 suggestions to the government, and it need to be enforced concurrently.
Shellfish, red meat, and beer. If you love indulging in these foods, you may end up with high uric acid level in your blood. These foods consist high level of purine, a substance that will eventually break down into uric acid and be excreted through our urine. It is recommended that the amount of dietary purines should be kept between 600 to 1000 milligrams per day. Having too much uric acid in your blood can cause attacks of gout. It can also cause kidney stones and blockage in the kidney. The crystallization of the excessive uric acid in your blood can be eased by reducing purine-rich food to only 100 to 150 milligrams daily, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and consuming urinary alkalinizer like Ural. It consists of sodium bicarbonate, citric acid, and sodium citrate that increases the urinary pH and solubility of uric acid to prevent crystallization. Best of all, it's lemon-flavored and sugar-free. Ural, effective urinary alkalinizer. Neutralize your uric acid problem now.
Former Premier Najib Razak has vowed to fight back against the government after being served with a bankruptcy notice by the Inland Revenue Board.
Former Prime Minister Najib Razak has commented on the bankruptcy notice served to him by the Inland Revenue Board. This is over the 1.7 billion ringgit in taxes that the agency was seeking from him. In a Facebook post yesterday night, he vowed to fight back against the government's move. He said he would not bow to individuals who abused the law and had asked his council to obtain a stay order against the punishment. Najib also cast suspicion on the timing of the bankruptcy notice, as he will not be able to contest in party polls and elections. He added that if he is declared bankrupt, he will lose his parliamentarian status and a by-election will have to be held. Najib claimed that the timing of the notice was related to a survey of 60,000 people by Utusan TV, which showed a majority wanted him as the Prime Minister candidate. It was also related to a decision made at the Umno General Assembly of not cooperating with Bersatu in the next general elections. In June 2019, the government, through the IRB, filed a suit against Najib, where it sought over 1.69 billion ringgit from the former premier, with an annual 5% interest rate beginning from the date of judgment, as well as cost and other relief deemed fit by the court. They said Najib had failed to pay his income taxes for 2011 to 2017 within the stipulated 30-day period after assessment notices were issued. As such, the amount owed each year was increased by 10%.
And that's a wrap for this evening. For more stories, go to kinitv.com. Don't forget, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook to get the latest news updates. Now, before we go, if you would like to support the independent media, do consider a subscription to malaysiakini.com. Click on over to our subscription page on Malaysia Kini and you'll find some attractive subscription deals right there waiting for you. If you're heading out, please don't forget your mask, and when you can, do try to stay home. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, Malaysia.